앨범이 발매됐습니다. 많은 사랑 부탁드릴게요.
Well, it's a bit difficult to compare because actually it's difficult, but it's easy also on one side because obviously when you compare my last years at Manchester City with right now, it's very difficult because you start at just a different point, you know. When you compare my time when I joined Man City in 2016, I've joined actually the start of a project, you know, because Pep Guardiola joined the same year as me, and a lot of things changed, you know, and you kind of started at zero. And I feel like that's a starting point here right now as well, at least for myself, you know. I'm leading a team that I was 7 years part of, and obviously the last years we were on top, you know, and we knew each other, we knew all the things about the club. We were together for a few years, you know, so not many changes. So everything was a little bit easier. Obviously, right now it feels like a start again, you know, for myself. And obviously, with every start, there comes challenges, you know, and steps that you have to go through. So yeah, I feel like we are there, and the starting point actually is quite good. Maybe even better when I've joined City in 2016. Because we are doing well. We want to do better in the future. We want to improve, but you have to start at one point. And yeah, it's difficult to compare. But on one side, it's also kind of easy, and I see a lot of similarities, you know, in my career, at least when I've joined City in 2016 and when I've joined Barca in the last summer. And I knew the steps that you have to go through and that you have to work through. And yeah, we are on the way, and this is a process, but we are trying to develop and improve as much as possible. Well, I mean, obviously, with the experience that I already had in my career, you know, and with the titles that I've won, but also maybe the downs that I had throughout my career with injuries, with losing important games. You know, I have seen a lot in my career so far. And that obviously makes me automatically someone that can pass on something to the younger players, to the younger generation at the end of the day. For me, it's always you know, leading by your actions and not so much your words, which makes it also for me a little bit more easy here because of the communication with the Spanish. It's not perfect yet, but I feel like, you know, when especially the younger players, when they see my behavior, you know, how I treat them, how I treat the staff around the team, how I go out for the training, you know, how I am on the pitch, how I want to win the games. I feel like this is also for them the most important thing, you know, seeing actually how I am and how I am as a character, and what I also am ready to sacrifice for success. And obviously, we have a squad with a lot of young players with a lot of potential and also already quality. And I feel like it's my responsibility also, you know, to try to pass on the things that are important to me or that were important to me in my career so far, to pass it on to them, to help them to develop as much as possible. And I mean, at the end of the day, we have, as I said, we have so many young talents, you know, so many young players. And I feel like, especially this season, you know, the likes of Lamine Yamal, of Pedri, Gavi in the start of the season, you know, unfortunately getting injured, but they already showed how much potential they have, and they are still so young, you know, and there's still a lot to learn and a lot of things that they can actually improve, but they are already playing on such a high level. So I feel like, yeah, the future for this club in terms of talent, in terms of players that come out of La Masia, is very bright. Well, as I said before, I feel like we are in the start of a process still, and obviously it's going to be a bumpy road. There are a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges that you have to overcome, but I think everything is there, you know, to be back there on top, and we are not far away from it. I mean, and I feel like through periods of the season, we played also quite good football, but the consistency is still missing, you know, and consistency is obviously a very big thing in football. You have to prove yourself every 3-4 days, you know, every game. People expect you on the highest level, on top of your game. And when you're at the start, it's obviously much more difficult to show consistency than when you are already on a more developed point of your project. But we will try to get there as quick as possible. We will do everything to be successful as quick as possible, as much as possible as well, and hopefully it's gonna turn out quite quickly for us. Well, for me, he was the main man, you know, to get me here into the club. So obviously it's gonna be sad, you know, seeing him leaving at the end of the season. Because I feel like he has great personality, you know, he's a great coach. And yeah, there's still so many things to play for. But of course we respect it and accept it. And I feel like the best thing we can do right now is just play as good as possible, you know, to make it, for him, you know, and to try to get the best possible results in the last games of the season, because I'm sure that is what will make him the most happy. You know, I think it's always what you make out of these kind of situations. So obviously changes are part of football, you know, whether it's coaches, whether it's players, you know, it's always happening. So you have to deal with what's happening at the present moment at the end of the day, and make the best out of the situation. So that's obviously something that is in next season, you know, and that's going to happen in next season. So it's very difficult to tell right now, and something that honestly I also don't really like to talk about, because we are still in a present season, you know, we are still in the middle of it, you know, coming towards the end of it, and having, you know, like really difficult games, and a lot of things that I said before also, you know, a lot of things to play for, and also, you know, to win. So I prefer to stay in this season, you know, and focus on the games right now, and everything else that's gonna come after is something that we will deal afterwards. At least we players, you know, because that's easy for us, because it's not our responsibility to decide what's gonna happen with the future of the club. That's in other people's hands. So on one side, it's also quite easy for us, because all we need to focus on is what's happening on the pitch. Well, similar to how I answered it before, actually, I feel like to play in midfield, it's a very specific. I mean, for me at least, one of the difficult positions to play in, because you know, everything is happening around you. So whether you're facing the opponent goal, whether you're facing your own goal, there's always people 360 around you, you know. So obviously scanning what's happening around you is very important to me, and to knowing already before, you know, before you get the ball or before an action starts, I feel like it's very important that you know and you are aware of what's happening around you. Awareness is a very big thing, and to make things at the end of the day as easy as possible for you as well. So I always try to stay calm. I always try to be technically on point, you know, be very precise in all the actions, and to make life as easy as possible for my teammates on the pitch, you know, to be always on point, and to play perfect in the most simple way of how you can play, actually. And I feel like my teammates know that, and I feel like that I'm also quite good in that, you know, and that they see it also. And hopefully this is something as an example that I can, you know, pass on to them, and that they can maybe feel like, that's something that I can work on, you know, and maybe take him as an example, and make just things easier for myself and for my teammates. Honestly, it's not something that I really think much about. I always was the type of player that was only looking to his performances, to what's happening on the pitch, to the way he's training, and to be successful with his team. From what I said before, the world is changing a little bit. I mean, social media is a big thing, marketing is a big thing. So obviously, off the pitch, you can also gain a lot of points and a lot of credibility in our modern world. I know that's part of the game, but it's not something that I really feel like is important. At the end of the day, I want to be recognized by the way I play football, and for me, recognition is when I'm successful with my team. And individual performances, I know that they are very important, but they are very important because also a lot of other things play a big role in it. So no, for me, it's only about the football side, the way I compete, the way I perform, and everything else, I am okay with it. I think I think it's a responsibility that you have also to society, because obviously we are very privileged human beings, as football players. We earn good money, we have a good life, we can take care of our loved ones, and I just feel like that helping others who are not that privileged, who maybe not got the same chances I got, when I grew up, is important, to pass something on, because in life it's not just about yourself, it's not me. It's also to look around what's going on in the world actually. And when I do things, when I try to help somewhere, it's mostly things that I can identify myself with. As someone who has Turkish roots, as an example, I love to help my people in Turkey, when there was the earthquake, as an example, to help there. But I was born in Germany and grew up in Germany. So obviously I like to help my old little childhood football team, as an example, my former teams where I played, in the cities that I participated, whether it's in Nuremberg, where I got my first professional contract, whether it is in Manchester, where I got to meet great people, and help the community there a little bit. So everything I do with purpose, and I do with the people that I know and that I again can identify myself with, because I know them, because I got to see it, all the different projects, and yeah, at the end of the day, you want to help as much as you can, and that is, I feel like, a responsibility for everyone that is privileged. I think it's a great opportunity for us as the hosts as well, in our own country. And I personally, as an example, remember the World Cup in 2006, in Germany, and I was just a teenager. I was 15 years old, and I remember, the atmosphere, the people from all over the world, in our country, and celebrating football. A great fest at the end of the day as well, throughout this 4 weeks, this month, and this is what I really hope, for that tournament as well. And on top of that, obviously, having the responsibility to be successful with the German team. And I feel like we are there, we just need some little fixing. And honestly, we can be there, we can have a successful tournament. So obviously we have now a few more months left. Not many opportunities to get together, just in March and then just before the tournament. But we will try to make the best out of it, and we will try to make our people in our country happy, because what would be better for the German national team than playing a successful tournament, in your own country as well. I'm really looking forward to him returning, because at the end of the day, we have to see the facts, and the fact is that he is a quality player, and he's someone who has so much experience, and is my age also at the end of the day. So he's not like, I don't know, he's not 36, 37, 38. So he's still playing on top level, on the highest possible level. And he has proven that, every single season, and is still doing it. So I think it gives us a lot of quality, a lot of experience, and I think he will be a great help. I think the most impressive thing about these two teams are that they really play as a team. I feel like there are no egos in the teams. There is no one like who wants to be the main man. They are very well organized always. They play very disciplined, very humble. So they just work for each other, and sacrifice themselves for each other. And that makes these kind of teams very dangerous because to break through these kind of teams, it's not easy. It's tough, and their work rate is high. And on the other side, they are very talented, and very physically very always in a very good condition. So that makes these kind of teams always difficult to play against. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of copying. I think every competition has its own charm. Obviously, for us in Europe, it's the UEFA Champions League. It's personally something that I grew up with. And watching the games midweek. It was always amazing and exciting for me. Growing up as a kid and a teenager. That's why I cannot say much about the Asian Champions League because I feel like I'm maybe right now starting to watch a little bit more because of the likes like Cristiano Ronaldo, and playing in the competition right now and getting these kind of players and talents, which obviously brings also more attention from Europe. But I guess, for the people in Asia, it's already a big thing, I suppose. I'm not sure, actually, I can just guess, but I guess it's already, a great competition. It's just different culture, different people behind it. It's on a different place in the world at the end of the day. So it attracts a bit more attention from that part of the world. But I think especially, like with the teams, making a big effort in getting more and more talent also from Europe, over there. I feel like the attention from Europe especially is increasing as well. Well, I feel like it's really developing, and especially in this last 2-3 years, you see a breakthrough. Obviously, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, as an example, or when I was just starting, my career, people in Germany talked about a very young Asian talent with Heung-min Son, starting in the Bundesliga, and impressing on the highest level, a player from South Korea, and if you just look at his career as an example, he's still playing, on such a top level throughout all these years, and he had some amazing clubs on the way, along the way, and again, a massive, I think, figure for Asian football. And now in these last 2-3 years, especially, also having these players from Japan, as an example, competing on the highest level. Even Saudi Arabia, beating Argentina in the last World Cup. I feel like there is already a boom, but I only feel like this is the start of it, and it's gonna get even bigger, in my opinion, because that region, is really pushing, and pushing with talents, especially. And I think now the key is to how to develop these talents in the best possible way. And I see it's very, very exciting, and I will keep following that process.